Aloha and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Shall we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? Councilmember Tolbo, will you please stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Also, Councilmember Tolba, will you please introduce our guest? And prior to that, I just want to acknowledge the presence of our Lieutenant Governor, Sylvia Luke. Thank you so much for being here. Aloha. Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you. And also, I'd like to recognize Mayor Blangiardi. I think he's in here too. Yeah. Well, today I want to welcome a very special guest, Isabella Bisson, the wife of Maui Mayor Richard Bisson, who will offer the message of Aloha. You know, I was very fortunate to work with Ms. Bisson, and my staff and I teamed up with several community organizations to collect more than 1 million pounds of donations for Lahaina and Kula residents who lost everything in the wildfires. Over 2 days, dozens of volunteers came together at AMVET Center out in Ewa Beach to receive, organize, pack, ship truckloads of household goods, diapers, children toys, hygienic items, school supplies, and clothing to Maui. Hui Mahiai Aina, a community organization in Waimanalo, picked up donations and shipped them to Maui. Special thanks to Auntie Blanche and Waylene for all your help. Ms. Bisson received and ensured the donations were distributed to the people in need. Other people and organizations I'd like to thank is the AMVETs. They are here. Thank you, AMVET Center. Commander Lazarus, Alim Shabazz, Marines from K-Bay, Boy Scouts, Ewa Beach, Alisa Manufiki from Ideal Innovations LLC, Jade Richardson, President of Road Builders Corporation, Earl Fernandez, who loaded and moved over the 1 million pounds donated items, Miss American Scholar, Brave Hawaii, Aloha Container. You know, in Hawaii, we are tied through blood, through friendship, through culture and history, and through our land. The heartbreak and suffering that our families and friends are walking through is so overpowering that sometimes it feels like we are powerless to do anything except pray for God, for God's mercy and intervention. But the truth is that we can all help in some way, whether it is through prayer, making a donation, volunteering for the Red Cross, or organizing a fundraiser. This collection was one small way our Oahu community came together to let the people of Maui know that we will do whatever we can to help them through still unfolding tragedy. I invited Ms. Bisson today so she can share her story and hear her firsthand on that what she cares deeply, and that is for her people on Maui. So ladies and gentlemen,
on behalf of my husband, Mayor Richard Bisson, and our ohana, with a heart full of gratitude and a deep sense of appreciation for each and every one of you here in this room and around the world, really. We have gathered here not just as a community, but as a testament of the incredible power of lokahi, unity, aloha, compassion, and kupa'a, resilience. In our journeys through life, there are moments when we are tested, and the paths ahead are filled with uncertainty. It is during these times that we truly discover the strength within ourselves and within our communities. In the early mornings of August 9th, I went to visit 3 Maui emergency shelters, which included the Hannibal Tavares Community Center in Pukalani, the Maui High School Gymnasium in Kahului, and the War Memorial Gymnasium in Wailuku. Following the opening of the Hannibal Tovar shelter for those in the upcountry area, Maui High School faculty and staff and collaborated with the county to stand up the Maui High School Evacuation Center at a moment's notice on the night of August 8th to house those impacted by the South and West Maui fires. I saw community members working alongside county employees to open the War Memorial Shelter and the Central Donation Site. I was overcome with emotion as I witnessed people, strangers, only moments before, immediately stepping in to help wherever it was needed. No questions asked. I recall watching two young men carry a kupuna across the parking lot at Maui High School Gymnasium School to receive medical care after driving in from Lahaina that morning. Mind you, they only had room for one person. And his wife said, "Please, take my husband. I will be okay. Take him. Help him receive the shelter and the care that he needs. I will find him." I also listened as my daughter recounted her conversation with her auntie from Puomana, who, despite all she had lost, like many, she spoke nothing but aloha. Aloha for the people, aloha for the land, and aloha that we will revive and build again. I saw people coming by the hundreds on foot, bikes, golf carts, cars, and trucks to drop off donations. Mind you, mostly from their pantries, their cabinets, and their closets. And they did so much more than just that. The people of our community. I witnessed the amazing medical staff made up of the private, public, and nonprofit sectors who work tirelessly together to provide a wide array of services in the shelter triage centers. That is amazing. We put aside our differences and we come together for one purpose: to care for our people. As I spoke with residents and listened to their individual stories, I always understood that all we do is for them. Our kaiaulu, our communities, our Maui Nui Ohana. It is difficult to pick just a few moments to highlight, and mind you, these are just a few. There are so much more. However, because everything that everyone was doing in those first couple of days and weeks, and that the weeks to follow were so vital, every grain of sand made a meaningful impact, whether it be a smile, an eye-to-eye contact, coming down to their level, having empathy and speaking with such love and aloha made such a difference for these people, for our people. Mahalo to Councilmember Ogitoba for his gracious invitation to join you today. And for me personally, most importantly, for checking in on your friend Rick, my husband. Mahalo nui. I would also like to thank Council Members Tupola and Kia'aina for coming to Maui to lend a helping hand, and mahalo to the other members of the Honolulu City Council. Each and every one of you did not stand alone, that I know. For behind you, you had an army, and you continue to do so, and you continue to share with us, so we are very grateful. Mahalo nui, you folks. Mahalo nui to mayors, Blangiardi, Kawakami, Roth, for sending their staff and employees to work alongside Maui's response team. I'd like to thank Governor Josh Green, his cabinet, and First Lady Jamie Green, as well as Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke, and all who have made many trips to Maui to assist. Mahalo nui yaoko. Mahalo nui, once again. You know, saying mahalo, I have to tell you folks, it's not enough. I cannot deeply express how truly humbled and how gratifying, how much gratitude we have. But as I continue to mahalo nui loa to the AMVETs and to Hui Mahi Aina for their collection, coordination, and transportation of donations to Maui. Last but not least, I would like to send our fondest and deepest aloha to the communities across Hawaii and beyond for their incredible efforts to uplift the people of Maui Nui. Mahalo ya oko pakahia pau. Your kindness, your generosity, and continued unwavering support have had a profound impact, not just on those directly affected, but on our entire communities. You have shown that when we come together, there is nothing we cannot do. So on behalf, once again, of my husband, Mayor Richard Bissett, and our ohana, I mahalo aku each and every one of you, and I thank you so very much, and I am humbled, and I say to all of you, malama pono, ahui ho.
Mahalo, Mrs. Bisson. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your remarks. Members, before we begin, we do have procedural announcements. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding the loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda, either in person or in the council chamber. Either in person in the council chamber or remotely. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on public hearing and new business items and a 1-minute presentation on all other items. Registered in-person testifiers will be called first. When your name is called, please proceed to the podium and begin by stating your name and the items you will be speaking on. When I call for anyone who has not registered to speak in person, please line up to the right of the podium, and when it is your turn, proceed to the podium. Begin by stating your name and then the item you're speaking on. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will then be called. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. When I call for anyone else standing by remotely, please utilize the Zoom raise hand button to indicate your desire to speak. For those joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you're also watching the proceeding on Olelo, please mute your device at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. Council members and members of the audience, if there are no objections, Bill 20, CD2 from page 11 will be moved to the end of the calendar. The following items were not posted on the agenda for consideration. Also on page 11, we have 2 proposed FD1 amendments to Bill 20, CD2 relating to parking. Copies are available at the city clerk's office downstairs in room 203. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero,
Present.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam,
Present.
Councilmember Kia Aina,
Present.
Councilmember Okimoto,
Present.
Councilmember Say, Councilmember Talba,
Here.
Councilmember Tupola,
Eo.
Councilmember Wire. Here. Chair Waters.
Here.
Mr. Chair, 9 members are present.
Thank you very much. Floor Leader Cordero, are there any guests?
Thank you, Chair. In addition to those that were introduced earlier by Councilmember Tolba, I would like to welcome members of the public, welcome our appointees and directors of the City Administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Kia Aina for the motion to approve the minutes.
I move that the minutes of the 12th session be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, are there any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, the minutes have been approved. Moving to the top of page 4, order of the day. From the Committee on Public Safety, Councilmember Okimoto.
Mahalo, Chair. I move for the adoption of CR 256, Resolution 23-194.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Mahalo. The Council of the City and County of Honolulu stands in solidarity with the people of Maui and is committed to aiding in Maui's recovery.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, there are none. Oh, I stand corrected. We have 1 person standing by remotely.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, City Council. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the resolution. And I think we're just all really appreciative of the efforts in Maui. And across the state, there was a lot of community fundraisers, events, concerts, and action taken to stand with Maui during the recovery process. and the state held a donation drive, and it had such an overwhelming response from the public that the public hallways and chambers were filled with packages. And I personally was graced with the opportunity to stand and to be present at the Brave and MVETS event in Eva District. MVETS is a congressionally chartered organization to support veterans, and we should really support and applaud the council member from District 9 for his valiant efforts in coordinating the drive. While MVETS provided the facility, Brave provided the volunteers, and there were a lot of other organizations involved. The donations were toiletries, bed sheets, period menstrual products, blankets, and food. And the state commander and the post commander were also organizing. Just really thankful to have been graced with the opportunity to be there for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Any discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much for introducing this reso, and thank you to Councilmember Tolba for really starting us off the right way. You know, I don't think there's a day that's passed by that none of us have thought about how the people of Maui are going to recover. It's definitely an ongoing thing, and I was so grateful to hear from Mayor Bisson's wife because it's been such a tragic event. And when I went there about 4 days after the incident had happened, I just saw this overwhelming support from the community, and I just wanted to shout out those members because there have been many people here on Oahu around the globe, to be honest, trying to help as much as they can, and there's a lot of people working quietly, and we just appreciate all of it. You know, when we had gathered some supplies together, propane, water, clothing, rice, like after we did it, like on Saturday night, I thought in my head, there's no way I can send this and not know that someone got it. So we flew over there to take it, 8 trucks of stuff, radios, extension cords, and it was just like one of the most tragic things I've ever seen. Our condolences to all the families who have lost loved ones and for those who are still not even able to find people who are missing. I've never seen something so horrible. And I just thank all of those community leaders who have been standing up, not getting paid to do this. Uncle Archie, Tiare Lawrence, Zane, Blake, Andrea Fawcett, Tamara Patlin, the county council member, Ellie Cochran, the state house rep. I mean, everybody, Mayor Bisson, everyone who has just been out there trying to help. And we just are grateful for everyone. And anything more that people can do, we thank everyone. And we just want to send our love and our prayers to everyone in Maui, and that we will never stop thinking about you and what more we can do. So thank you to our mayor and to our first responders who went over to go and help, because I'm sure that this will last for many months until we're able to get back on our feet. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none. Any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 256 and Resolution 23-194 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 5, members from the Committee on Parks, Enterprise Services, and Culture and the Arts, Councilmember Tolba.
I move that.
By the way, members of the audience, Mr. Sato designed this logo. Not sure people knew that, but thank you for being here. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about the coat of arms here? How did that come about?
Actually, the material is the same as making surfboards, fiberglass resin, and the lettering is cast metal lettering, and they were attached through nuts and bolts through the fiberglass and resin. And the color you see is from paint, actually, on the surface. Actually, I made a mold of the seal in clay first, and inside the clay, I cast the fiberglass and resin, and then that was taken out after it was set, and then attached the lettering and did the painting. It was a process that took about, I guess, about 3 weeks to a month. Long time ago.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 242 and Resolution 23-145 has been adopted. Congratulations and thank you again, Mr. Sato. Councilmember Tolba.
I move that Committee Report 243 and Resolution 23-147 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Confirming the appointment of Paige Miki Okimura to serve on the Commission of Culture and the Arts of the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you so much. Is Ms. Okamura here? Aloha. Thank you for joining us.
Aloha mai kako, mahalo, council members and Chair Waters. I'm very happy to be here this morning, and I'm very honored to awamo this kuleana and happy to answer any questions you may have this morning.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 243 and Resolution 23-147 has been adopted. Congratulations, Ms. Okamura. And thank you again. Members, moving to the top of page 6, Councilmember Tolba.
I move that Committee Report 244 and Resolution 23-151 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Confirming the appointment of John Leong to serve on the Board of Parks and Recreation for the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you very much. Is John Leong here today? Aloha.
Aloha, Chair Waters and members of the council. John Leong is not here today. He's actually in Maui. But we are very excited to have him join our advisory board to bring his, expertise, his passion to help to guide us to continue to holomua. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Just as we brought up the initial Board of Parks and Recreation nominees, I'm very excited for this board to become active again because I have seen myself not just as at the council but as a neighbor where our Kalihi parks were able to get changes that were needed through the Board of Parks and Recreation, and I really will look forward to working with the Board of Parks and Recreation again should any of my parks or neighborhood boards request so. And so I'm very excited and very supportive of all the nominees. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 244 and Resolution 23-151 has been adopted. Congratulations, Mr. Leong. Councilmember Tolba.
I move that Committee Report 245 and Resolution 23-152 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Confirming the appointment of Nikki Medwitz to serve on the Board of Parks and Recreation for the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you. Is Nikki Medwetz here? Aloha. Thank you for coming. Good to see you.
Aloha Council. Thank you. My name is Nikki Medwitz. By profession, I'm the Public Affairs Director at Aulani, a Disney Resort and Spa in Ko'olina. But on my personal life, I'm a triathlete, and so I'm very passionate about the health and wellness of the community and also of all of the employees. We have nearly 1,700 who work at Aulani Resort. I'm happy to help represent them. They live all across our island, and I look forward to helping to serve on this board.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you. Members, any objections or reservations? Pardon?
Testimony?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Members, excuse me, Mr. Clerk, any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Seeing no discussion, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 245 and Resolution 23-152 has been adopted. Congratulations, Ms. Medwitz. Councilmember Tolba.
I move that Committee Report 246 and Resolution 23-154 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Affirming the appointment of Judith Stelgenbauer to serve on the Board of Parks and Recreation for the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you. Is Ms. Stelgenbauer here? Aloha. Thank you for joining us.
Aloha, Chair Waters and council members. I'm Judith Stelgenbauer. I'm a professor in the School of Architecture at UH Manoa and a landscape architect. In my work in teaching, research, and practice of the last 25 years has focused on, all aspects of designing public open spaces, particularly the role they can play in making our urban environment more sustainable and climate resilient. And I'm honored to be considered for this appointment.
Awesome. Thank you. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 246 and Resolution 23-154 has been adopted. Congratulations, Ms. Stelgenbauer. Councilmember Tolba.
I move that Committee Report 247 and Resolution 23-158 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Affirming the appointment of Christiane Nishida to serve on the Board of Parks and Recreation for the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you. Is Christiane Nishita here? Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Christine Nishita. I'm the director of the Center on Aging at UH Manoa, and it's an honor to be before you today. I'm somebody who champions healthy and active aging, and of course our parks have a big part of that, and so I look forward to working on the board and looking for opportunities to have our older adults be more engaged, involved in our community, and active as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Noting no discussion, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 247 and Resolution 23-158 has been adopted. Congratulations, Ms. Nishida. Turning to the top of page 8 from the Committee on Planning and the Economy, Councilmember Kia Aina.
I move that Committee Report 255 and Resolution 23-177 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Kia Aina for the explanation.
This resolution confirms the nomination of Dita Simeona, also known as Dita Holyfield, to serve as the Director of Enterprise Services of the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you very much. I did note the presence of Ms. Holyfield. Aloha and welcome. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you to Councilman Chair Waters and all of you. I had such a wonderful time getting to know you, listening to your heart for the city, and hopefully envisioning your vision and taking it to the next level. I wanted to also thank my friends and family that are here this morning, including my pastor, Steve Byrne, and his lovely wife, Ruth, that are in attendance. But I think the thing, as I heard Councilman Tupolo's heart, when she was talking about the people of Maui and what is the Department of Enterprise Services, I mean, what do we do? How can we participate? What do we bring to the table? And one of the things I felt so proud about were two pieces of the puzzle when I was thinking about just 3 weeks before this all happened. We had a local artist, Maole. 22,000 tickets were sold at the Shell, and how we come together and support our artists in support of our local talent. And he sold just as many tickets as Garth Brooks did. Like, it's just so neat to be a part of something so special of the community that I serve now in the Honolulu market. And I also just wanted to say, Sunday night, we were able to stream over 110,000 people to watch the concert at the Shell that BAMP put on and raise money. And to think that those that those artists and the promoters, they stepped down with some of the financial gains and allowed people, anybody to stream and to donate. That just speaks volumes about something small that the Department of Enterprise Services can do and contribute. And it is my passion and honor to be nominated today for confirmation.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the nominee? Councilmember Tupola.
Just comment, thank you, Dita. Keep bringing that energy. Just want to say, go Dita. Thank you for bringing your friends, family, and fans over here, taking pictures of you. It's exciting because, you know, the meetings we've had have been about what is the vision, but it's also been about how can we clean up and make the department more appealing for people to use our facilities. And I'm not just talking about the look of the facilities, I'm talking about how people interact with those people who want to host at the Blaisdell or at the Shell. And I'm not saying people haven't in the past, but we want it to be a premier destination. We want people to choose us. And it hasn't been that way in the past because of a lot of different things. So I'm just hopeful. I'm very hopeful that you're gonna be able to go through that, live with and use integrity to make the choices that you need to make so that we can be on the forefront of entertainment for these wonderful places that really the city has cornered the market on. People love performing at these places. So we're just lucky to have you, grateful for your background and your energy, and fully support your nomination. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Director Hollifield, thank you very much for not only allowing yourself to be nominated and taking on the role, but especially to just be teachable and have the same heart that, of course, we all do, as you mentioned. And it was really awesome because I got to see the teamwork and your teachable spirit as well when, we got to go to the zoo together. And not only, it's just one part of your job at the zoo, but seeing your teamwork with your deputy director and being able to just learn things that we in the public may not even think about learning and knowing is something that's going to be really critical to the role of the different parts of the Department of Enterprise Services. So it was great to see that. And as Councilmember Tupola said, I appreciate your energy and we hope to see more of that energy as well. Thank you, Director Hollifield.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you. Good to see you, Dita. You know what I enjoy hearing about you speak about is that while you have your kuleana within your department, you are looking at the totality of the city and county of Honolulu on how you could kokua. And that was evidence just about how you were talking about Maui. And because everyone's thinking, well, how can I help Maui? It's not just about donating goods or funds. It's looking at everyone's skill set as individuals or organizations or governments, and determining in whatever small way they can how to kokua. And I can see that in you. And I know that you will bring that level of energy as well as gusto to how you try to move the department forward, but also look at ways that you could partner with the other departments of the administration to move the city and county of Honolulu forward. And that's what's so important. And I think Maui gives us an opportunity to reflect on ourselves and what we could do to do good and better that we've taken for granted all these years, that we're just providing government services. No, it's all about the community and how we safeguard and look to the future and on how to take care and mitigate against future hazards. So anyway, thank you for putting yourself forward, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you, Chair. I'm excited, not only as a friend and a former employee. I'm excited because I know the kind of vision you have and your passion. You know, Sunday night, I spent my evening on the continent in Utah, and every person that I bumped into that either lived here or just went there because they wanted to see an amazing night of music in Utah, and a lot of their proceeds went to Maui. You know, as a longtime entertainer, it's always refreshing when you go to the mainland and people come out and support island artists, but a lot of them do that because it's too expensive to perform here, or it's just no venue to support island artists. And there's so much love for the music. You know, we saw that with E.M. Tongi. You know, we seeing this happen all over the United States with local artists, like you said, Maoli, selling out places. So we have a great opportunity, not only to like really like make this so polarizing that people cannot resist coming to Hawaii, because this, you know, have this area, this place that we live in, have so much talent, you know, and I know a lot of them would love to perform alongside Bruno Mars, and we saw that with the Green at Aloha Stadium. So I just look forward to seeing what you will do, because I already know you. I know what you can do, and I just hope that you will bring, that, like everyone is saying, the energy here to the city, so we can not only have great events, but make this a place where people look and go, that's where I want to come to perform, or I want to come because it's a special place. So thank you for your service, and I look forward to calling you Director Holyfield.
I'm looking forward to that too.
Thank you, members. Any other questions for the director before we take testimony and then discussion? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers? I do believe we have two registered testifiers, Joshua Mednick and Andrew Resin. Is Mr. Mednick here? Oh, aloha. Thank you for being here. Please proceed.
Chair Waters, council members. I actually had prepared something before I stood up here, and then I left it at the table, because after hearing all of you speak, it seems that you found exactly the person you need for this role. Her experience as a performer makes her completely relatable to those that are going to get on your stages. Her experience as a marketer makes her the perfect person to make all of these events fantastically successful. Most importantly, her experience as a leader in the media community makes her knowledgeable of all the people that she'll be dealing with as she embraces the new role. I'm very proud to have Dita as a friend, and I look forward to working with her as director. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is Andrew Resin present? Hello and welcome.
Aloha mai kako. I appreciate being here today to speak on behalf of Dita Holyfield. All of you, fortunately for you, have said many of the things that I would have said, so we'll shorten the time that you have to listen to me. But I'm going to start with the end. Everything that I've seen Dita touch are results. She always produces results, and she does that with integrity, as you all said, with passion, intelligence, collaboration, and she is a tremendous asset to this city and county. And I'm very happy that I just from listening to the comments, I'm confident Director Holyfield, I know I'm going to have to address her as that from now on, but thank you for having me speak on her behalf, and you couldn't pick a better person than Dita to be your next Director of Enterprise Services. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to testify? See now, Mr. Clerk, are there any remote testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have one remote testifier standing by.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, City Council. Testifying in support of Dita as a nominee to join the team and the member of the commission. We need to bring A-list acts to the city and serve the commission with energy. There was Crossing Rain that played with a band at the zoo. That was a really good concert. So, you know, A-list acts like Crossing Rain. And the Department of Enterprise Services operates and maintains the Blaisdell Center, the Waikiki Cell, and the Honolulu Zoo, and 6 municipal golf courses. DES also coordinates the preparation, administration, and enforcement of the City and County of Honolulu concession contracts. And it is one of the only city departments with an operating budget primarily funded by revenue generated from public events and activities. So we need that energy there from DES to support all that DES does. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 225 and Resolution 23-177, CD1, has been adopted. Congratulations, Director Holyfield. And good luck to you. Members, we're on the top of page 9. Resolution 23-191, confirming the appointment of Ms. Leslie Hubbard to serve on the Citizens Advisory Commission on Emergency Management of the City and County of Honolulu. Is Ms. Hubbard present? Aloha, thank you for being here.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Lonnie Hubbard. I grew up in Pupukea, Oahu. I bring 23 years of experience in healthcare. I've worked primarily with geriatrics and palliative care. I'm honored to be considered for this commission.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to applaud the Blangiardi administration for continuing to prioritize diversity and gender equity for the city boards and commission. I understand that if Ms. Hubbard is confirmed, she will be the only female on the commission of 5, replacing another female. I wanted to mahalo Ms. Hubbard for your community volunteer work, including at the culturally and resource-rich Aina of Kako'oiwi, the Loko'ea in Haleiwa. Looking forward to you helping to do the good work that the commission is going to be set out to do, not just working within the city and county of Honolulu, but as you can imagine, I feel that it's relating to Maui, it's all hands on deck. Again, if you heard me earlier, I feel that everybody should volunteer their skill sets in their official or unofficial capacities to see what they could do to Kokua. So looking forward to having you on board.
Thank you. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to mahalo Ms. Hubbard for being willing to serve. Look forward to the conversation in committee, but it's such an important topic, has been, but I think right now there's really an opportunity for us to come together as a community to continue the conversation on emergency management. So appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members in discussion? Seeing none, Resolution 23-199 has been referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
To the bottom of page 9, Resolution 23-192, confirming the appointment of Ms. Joy Kimura to serve on the Planning Commission of the City and County of Honolulu. I see Ms. Kimura is here. Aloha. Would you like to say a few words?
Good morning, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and members of the Honolulu City Council. I just want to take this time to thank you for considering my resolution, and I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Blangiardi for nominating me to the Planning Commission. And lastly, thank you to everyone who submitted testimony in support of my resolution. I'm very appreciative. If confirmed to the Planning Commission, I promise to do my best to serve to the best of my abilities and to be a positive and contributing member. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, I note that we have one registered testifier, Nathaniel Kinney. Hello and welcome.
Good morning, Chair and members. The Hawaii Regional Council, Nathaniel Kinney for the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters. We wanted to stand in support of the nomination. I've personally known Joy for over a decade, and she's just been a tireless advocate for affordable housing and a lot of the good stuff that happens down here at the council and probably going to happen at the Planning Commission as well. So we think she'd be a great addition. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Okay. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Wire.
I just wanted to mahalo Ms. Kimura again for her willingness to serve. You know, she brings years of expertise to the position, and I think, you know, having her here twice in one day, I know she was Mother of the Year, I think speaks to just the how well-rounded she is and all the qualities that she has that I think will really serve the community and citizens of Oahu. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you. I wanted to echo Councilmember in congratulating her for serving on the Planning Commission. I also want to just point out to the administration that I'm very pleased of your continuing to appoint qualified women to serve on our boards and commissions. With the appointment of Ms. Kimura, we will have gender parity on our city's planning commission with 4 men, 4 women. And of course, the next nominee might actually put us over the top if we're lucky, but very pleased to have her coming on board.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none. Resolution 23, do I have to, any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. Resolution 23-192 has been referred to the Committee on Planning and the Economy. Moving to the top of page 10 from the Committee on Executive Matters and Legal Affairs, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 228 be adopted and Bill 45 CD1 as amended pass second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This relates to human resources, addressing the powers, duties, and functions of the Director of Human Resources.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers? I believe, sorry, we have one registered testifier, Natalie Iwasa. Good morning. Welcome. Please proceed.
Is that on? Yeah. Good morning, Chair, Council members. Natalie Wassa for the record. So Bill 45 is regarding the HR Department, Human Resources, and what this bill would do would add additional responsibilities, including reporting on the impact of the city's operations and delivery of services related to long-term vacant positions. And vacant positions have been an issue at the city for at least a decade. So this is good information to have, but my question is, how would this be determined? I mean, is the department going to go out and do surveys among the departments? Is it going to survey community members? Is it going to be part of the annual survey of the community? You know, how much will this effort cost? So what I'd like to understand is the cost-benefit analysis. What do we get from this with respect to the costs involved? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
We have one remote testifier standing by.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES in support of Bill 45 for the Director of Human Resources. The purpose of this ordinance is to address the responsibilities of the Director of Human Resources. And the current responsibilities are to prepare and to report to the Civil Service Commission reasonable regulations to carry out applicable provisions of the Charter, and to examine all applicants and all officers of the city pursuant to any applicable ordinance and rules in effect. So the amendment is to work with the city departments to analyze and monitor and identify obsolete vacant positions and to submit an annual report to the city council detailing the impact to the city operations and the steps taken to fill these positions and any challenges that will occur. So we are in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Noting no discussion, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 228 has been adopted and Bill 45, CD1 has passed second reading. From the Committee on Housing, Sustainability, and Health, Councilmember Wire.
I move that Committee Report 252 be adopted and Bill 46, CD1 as amended pass second reading.
Councilmember Kia Aina for the second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Wire for the explanation.
And this relates to flavored tobacco products.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have several remote testifiers standing by.
Okay, thank you. Mitzi Higa, followed by Joshua Ching. Is Mitzi Higa available? Aloha, welcome.
Aloha. Thank you. Aloha, Chair Waters. Thank you for letting Mitsuhiga HSTA Hawaii State Teachers Association speak on this subject. We wanted to give our input, and of course you have our written testimony, but we want to say that our schools are doing something. Our teachers have been doing something. We have seen administrators with bags, rubbish bags of confiscated items of vaping products. We strongly support this bill to ban vaping flavors. Just like in 2009 when the FDA banned flavored regular cigarettes, it is time for us to act now. They haven't acted yet, but that does not prevent a state from, or a city from acting. Yes, the state needs to do some overturn or suspend Act 206, but we can still, as a city and council, make this be a hero, support our students, because right now they're being preyed on by the vaping industry. These flavors entice them. Lihi Mui, gummy bears, give me a break. I mean, that's what our teachers are saying. They're concerned about our students. Our students are these devices are being confiscated. Our students are being suspended. They're losing learning time because of it. And they have an ELF bar that has the equivalent of nicotine of 590 cigarettes. This is out of control. It's rising in Hawaii. It's now in our middle schools and even our elementary schools. Our teachers are please asking you as our lawmakers, please be our heroes, because it's out of control. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Did you say teachers are confiscating bags full of vaping products?
They're confiscating bags or different products from different students, turning them into their administrators as they need to. And the administrators, by the end of a semester, have rubbish bags full of confiscated devices and products that they, of course, do not return, but they have to turn into the health department or whatever their process is. But they're already doing this, is the point. They're already confiscating these devices. Oh, one more thing I'll add to your question. They disguise them as USB devices and as markers now. Now, what industry does that if they're not appealing to kids, our students? That's what they're doing.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Members,
thank you.
Members, do you have any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you again. Next, we have Joshua Ching, followed by Peggy Mirzwa. Is Joshua Ching available?
Yes.
Aloha, thank you.
Aloha. On behalf of the Coalition for Tobacco-Free Hawaii's Youth Council, we're in strong support of Bill 46, and I stand on our written testimony. Today, I'd like to turn the Council's attention to possession, use, and purchase measures, commonly known as PUP laws, which several industry advocates have pushed over the past several hearings. PUP laws seek to institute monetary penalties on youth for tobacco use, with some proposals pushing upwards of $100 fines, community service, or in some jurisdictions, driver's license suspensions, and are a common policy proposal of the tobacco industry uses to shift the blame of the vaping epidemic on the youth they aggressively target and manipulate. PUP laws, moreover, have long-lasting negative impacts on youth. Take, for example, a child with a job, a single parent, or two parents who work outside the home may struggle to complete community service or pay fines. If a violation results in suspension of a driver's license, travel to school, a job, or a community service site becomes more difficult. A child who is unable to complete community service or pay fines may be subject to escalating penalties that are increasingly difficult to resolve. Oftentimes, too, the financial burden of PUP laws would inevitably pass on to their families, and for some, a $100 fine could be a make or break for financial stability, especially in Hawaii. The last thing that tobacco control should ever do is allow the tobacco industry to profit in the millions while gambling with the few dollars a family has to spend for the purpose of deterrence. These proposals that center punishment of use rather than distribution are troublingly reminiscent of the failed war on drugs, working to stigmatize and punish children while increasing confrontations with law enforcement through citations that fuel the school-to-prison pipeline. And given that Native Hawaiian, Filipino, African American youth are disproportionately impacted by e-cigarette use, instituting these policies would drive economic disparities along racial lines while protecting the profits of so-called law-abiding businesses, diverting marginalized youth into the criminal justice system. Addiction has and never will be an issue to fix, nor one that punishing children will solve. In fact, researchers from the National Institute on Drug Abuse in 2011 found that punishment is one of the least optimal strategies for curbing addiction. The youth vaping epidemic requires empathy for those impacted and stringent accountability for the industry. Again, we strongly reiterate our support for a ban on the sale of flavored tobacco products as the most effective and equitable solution at this time, as opposed to monetary fines on individual youth as punishment. It's time to put keiki over the profits of big tobacco. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Ching? I just have one. To the extent that you can answer this question, where are our children obtaining these vaping products? Do you know how the kids are getting apparently bags full of these vaping products? How are they getting them?
Well, I think there's a variety of ways that kids can get access to it. There are individual sellers that youth could be sourcing from, whether they have connections, are of legal age, and are like selling secondhand to youth. That could be a potential way that they're getting it. It could also be through their parents, through family members, through their friends. Like, addiction is not just an issue that individual youth oftentimes are dealing with. It tends to be intergenerational, and so family units might be impacted by addiction as a whole. And so I think there are a variety of ways that youth can get access to these products. In certain cases, there are businesses that do maybe might not check if the child is over the age of 21. Yeah, there's just a number of different possibilities that pop into my head. But at the end of the day, banning these products and ensuring that they're no longer on the market is one of the most surefire ways, and also the most equitable way to ensure that youth don't have these potential options of getting these products in the first place.
Thank you. Members, any follow-up questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Ching. Next, we have Peggy Merzwa. Hello, did I pronounce your name okay? Thank you for being here. Please proceed.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, or council, sorry. Peggy Merzwa with Hawaii Public Health Institute. Thank you so much for hearing this measure. I think HSTA and Josh have, covered many of the issues that we face with these products. We are in strong support of this bill because it sends a message to our state and to our community that Honolulu City and County puts the health of its people above profit. And to see the end of the sale of flavored products, most of which are on the market currently and have not been approved by the FDA, so they should not be being sold, they entice young people. That's what Josh just spoke about. It's the flavors that get kids to be creative in ways to obtain these products. 8 in 10 kids vape flavored products. This is how they enter the market, and then they become addicts. Mitzi from HSTA just was saying how one Elf bar equals about 30 packs of cigarettes, right? Like that's, 30 packs of cigarettes in one Elf bar. One Elf bar can be gone through in about a week if a kid is puffing often. So it's the flavor that gets them there. And that's why we strongly support ending the sale of flavored tobacco products. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Hi, Peggy. Great to see you. I know that we worked on things with Farrington, and I know that Farrington has a pretty active, anti-vape campaign, spearheaded by the students themselves. But, just as the school administration as well as the students are taking a stand, it's really hard when, this group that I'm a part of, my office is a part of is Kalihi Connection Coalition. And we've heard and seen that, I don't know where they're from, but people, just regular people are targeting the students just across the street from Farrington, stopping at KFC and, whipping out their backpacks or their trunks and having trunk loads of these things. That we have actual footage of that, and working with HPD. And I know that the schools are doing their best. I know that even their students are trying to help their friends as well. But outside of that, what else could we do? Because even outside of our elementary schools, Kalihi is just littered with all of our vaping shops. But what else should and could we do to, mitigate that from occurring?
Well, one, and the sale of flavored tobacco products, because I do think that that's what attracts kids to them. They're interested in something sweet. I think that Kalihi's very lucky to have groups that are out there advocating for the kids in the schools because, it's an issue time and time again, just like HSTA said, and kids are trying to help kids. That's awesome. I do think teachers want to help the kids who want to be helped, but it's really hard when you fight addiction. Addiction is a very serious issue, and there are programs, a lot of, for teens in particular, it helps them to be with other teens and talk about it, so putting programs together like that. And there are some other resources out there, but because teens weren't the typical group that was addicted to nicotine, replacement therapy is not recommended because it hasn't been tested out on people who are young. But there are new things coming out in the field, and I would be happy to get you some more resources because there are groups out there working on this, but there isn't enough, I would say, because it is such a huge problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask the same question to the Chair because I think didn't get enough. So what do you think? How do you think the kids are getting this if they're getting bags and bags of vape pipes?
Kids are really smart, and I am sure some of them have fake IDs, and they go in and buy them themselves. They steal from family members. They, just as Councilmember Codera said, there's people outside the school who have purchased and now are selling to the kids. There is no end to the way you can access things if you are determined.
Exactly. So we have illegal fireworks, and yet people are still able to get. My concern is that the city, do we have enough resources, right? Or do the state need to, we're talking about in a couple of months, discussion on legalizing marijuana. How do you feel about that? So I think this is a great body and we're having a great discussion, but I think we got to go talk to our state representatives because getting them already and it's a very complicated situation when we want to make sure that our kids don't get addicted. We want to make sure that our families, got to be leading by example. So what are we doing to help our families? so that they don't pass on. So I just like this, just comments.
And again, you know, it is flavors. It's very specific. It's easy to see that it is on sale. Illegal fireworks are a bit different. You know, I think that's a lot. They're not on sale in stores all over the place necessarily. So it's easier to target the flavors. And once the flavors start to come off the shelves and go away, they're just not there anymore. And so the problem in that arena starts to decrease. Does that mean addiction goes away and there isn't a whole other piece we have to work on? Absolutely. You know, I would never want to see people who are addicted to a substance who do not have the support that they need from their community. So 100% feel that there's not just one answer to this, and that's why we also are educating state lawmakers. And I think that this bill, by passing it, does help to give them a message that Honolulu City and County does care strongly about this issue and wants to see change.
Councilmember Wire, followed by Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Just quickly, mahalo for your testimony. I was just curious, so if this bill passed and it became law, folks that are addicted to vaping, would they still be able to access some type of vape device that had nicotine in it?
You mean adults? Are they
Adults,
still able?
yeah.
Yes. It's just the flavored products that we're looking at. We're not looking at just removing, you know, same as when, well, menthol is still sold in cigarettes, but, you know, when tobacco went flavor-free, people could still buy cigarettes. Adults could still get them, yes.
Okay, and that raises a good point. So you brought up cigarettes. So it sounds like aside from the menthol, other flavors are already banned in cigarettes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, and so it sounds like we're already enforcing flavor bans. Those flavor bans just currently are on cigarettes.
Correct. Yeah.
And vaping is a relatively newer device than cigarettes. Is that?
It is, and it flooded the market very quickly. You know, I think. Yeah.
Okay, and so it sounds like you're saying that the regulations we have on cigarettes just haven't kept up with vaping devices.
Right, the definitions in even our HRS as well as federal definitions, they just have not kept up with how tobacco is defined specifically. That's being addressed at the state level for certain, and last year the state did pass taxation regulation, which helps to now better understand where things are being sold, because a retailer does need to be permitted and licensed in order to sell these products. It is always hard to enforce something if you don't know where it is being sold, but because now these products are regulated just the same as other tobacco products, it is a much easier trail of reports and procedures. So,
I appreciate that. Do you have any knowledge on when flavors were banned, I think it was 2009, if cigarette use continued to decline, or there's any impact on that on usage and addiction?
Yes, cigarette use has continued to decline since that time. So it is going down and down, which is wonderful. That's what we want to see. Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel that, you know, dealing with currently 1 in 4 about high school students, or 1 in 3, yeah, and 1 in 5 middle school students about regularly using, do you think that we'll see those numbers decrease if we ban flavors?
That is why I'm standing here today. I do think that this is a piece of the puzzle of how to start to decrease the use of flavors for teens, yes.
Appreciate that. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Okimoto, followed by Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, and then Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Chair. I want to mahalo you for being here, and I can really understand as a mom of youth how this is so important. And I've mentioned before how I've even seen the youth coming off of campus and having their devices. I think my questions are kind of along the same lines. While I support the intent of this measure, I do have questions about how this is actually going to be enforced and if this is necessary, because we haven't yet been able to distinguish how or where the youth are being able to purchase or acquire the devices and the products. So with this type of measure where it prohibits something, And this measure is flavored tobacco products, not specifically vaping, which is what the focus has been on. I guess my question for you is, with the prohibition of it, how do we ensure that they can't purchase it outside? Or we've heard testimonies in committee hearing about the black market then intensifying. The youth will find ways to acquire the products somehow.
There will be a substantial decrease, right? If we're not selling them in the stores, then there's just less product to obtain and easier to see where it's coming from. On top of that, I mean, the black market is already putting out products that are being sold in the stores. You know, there's a lot of products that come from China. It's not an FDA regulated industry. So, you know, it is here, but it's being sold through the stores. So if you, again, end the sale of flavors, you're removing a huge amount of products. And once those products leave the stores, it becomes easier and easier to see where they're coming in. And again, you know, kids, any addict will find a way, right? Like, I'm not gonna stand here and argue that. Is a non-flavored product less enticing? Absolutely. My teen girls come home and they'll tell me, oh, there's new flavors. That's why the kids do it. They want to try new flavors. That's how they get into it. They're very transparent. I mean, it's just a part of their everyday life that they see all over the place at school. So it is flavors that drive.
And I don't disagree at all that it is a problem. I guess even as you're answering my question is, so you're saying that the black market products are being sold in the stores legally? Is that what I heard you say?
So there has been no flavored product, synthetic product that has been approved by the FDA. So Elf bars, which are flavored, they are not an approved FDA device, and the FDA has asked stores to stop selling them. It hasn't happened, but yeah,
And how do we address the issue of, and I'm guessing, again, I don't know, and it sounds like none of us are really sure, the purchasing of devices and products online, which again, we can't. And to me, it goes back to, at some point, it has to go back to the homes.
Right.
And we can educate the children, but the parents have to be aware of what's happening within their own homes.
So the online sales is now illegal. You need to buy in a face-to-face interaction. That was a law that passed last year. So just like you can't purchase some types of lithium batteries, they won't send them here. They're supposed to stop from purchasing. If you live in Hawaii, it should not be being shipped to you.
Is that enforced? I mean, it sounds like just like the other.
The AG is working on it. I mean, this just all went into effect. So obviously with anything, are there lessons to be learned? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think my concerns are based on the enforcement of it. I am a huge supporter of our kids being healthy and not promoting types of addiction to products that will be harmful to them. But I do have concerns with how this will be enforced, and is it really going to solve the problem? I don't know if this is going to solve the problem, especially come from the city's purview or city's perspective. And at some point, I really want, I'll say this again, but advocate for we can't regulate everything. At some point, it has to go back to the homes where there has to be education and teaching and monitoring of what your children are doing. Government shouldn't be in everyone's home telling them what to do. I mean, that's what I think and I believe. So those are my questions. I feel like you're so passionate about it and I want to be able to solve the problem. I just don't know if this measure would do that. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I do want to just say that we did raise the age to purchase to 21, and that did make an impact, and it was enforced. So we do have some lessons that we've already learned about enforcement and changing a regulation. Tobacco is a regulated
But you said the age was raised to 21, which is great, but also there's still bags of these things being collected at school. So I don't know how, if that doesn't seem to equate, if that age was put into place, why didn't it equate to then lowering of devices and instances in school?
Again, it is flavors, but I do want to point, the Department of Health is here and they might have some information as well that you folks might want to hear.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, followed by Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for joining us. You know, as you know, I've worked on this issue in a past life and was a board member on the Good Beginnings Alliance, which is now the Children's Action Network, and this is one of the key issues. But and so I want to make sure that we get this bill right, and it's not going to be ripe for a challenge further down the line. And one of the things that does concern me is something that I brought up in the committee hearing on this, which deals with premium cigars, because those are specifically marketed in such a way that there are no added flavors, but the inherent flavors within the tobacco itself lends itself to being marketed with, people say, you know, tastes like oak or bourbon or vanilla. Clearly this is different than POG flavor or guava or whatever is being marketed to kids. But as the bill's currently drafted, it would prohibit a retailer of fine cigars from being able to say, this one has notes of pepper or spice or whatever. And this raises some commercial speech questions for me. And so I wanna ask you, and if you don't have an answer today, that's fine, but hopefully in the next few weeks, we can see what other jurisdictions have done to resolve this specific issue. We clearly don't want kids to be vaping. I also don't want kids to get hooked on fancy cigars, but I also want to make sure that there's not going to be a retailer further down the line, and I see Tina in the audience, who says, well, hold on, we're not doing this to target kids. We're not, in fact, we're not really making any, we're not selling any products with added flavors, but in order to do this, we have to say it has notes of bourbon and whatever, right? So hopefully there's some way that we can resolve this very specific issue, because everything else clearly is sort of abhorrent to me when it comes to the guava and lilikoi and all these other things.
I always think that there's a solution to a problem, so I'm happy to work with you on language and looking at some other jurisdictions, because nationally, I know the conversation has come up.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work. You know, I definitely appreciate the education, the advocacy. I don't think anyone in this body is for children being marketed to in regards to addictive substances, in all types of addictive substances, not just tobacco. But I do believe that we're out of our jurisdiction here. At the city, we're able to be more permissive but not more restrictive. So my question is, did this get proposed on the state level already?
It has been, yes.
So did this pass?
No, it hasn't yet.
So I guess back to the question of enforcement, right, is we never want to put things on the books that are outside of our jurisdiction, because then we can't enforce it, and then it's just almost teasing the law, right? It's like, oh, it's written, but nothing can really happen with it. Because my other concern is that there are kids in our community that just drip oils and flavors into the vape. So whether or not the vape pen has flavor or not, I know people that put CBD oil in, all kinds of things in it. So will the ban of flavors really stop people from just flavoring the vape pen when you can add it to it?
This is specifically about flavored tobacco products, and I think you're bringing up an entirely other huge issue that probably will need to be addressed at some point, but this is specific to flavored tobacco and the sale of it in Honolulu. I will say that I'm just gonna go back to the point of sale for tobacco products. Hawaii County was the 4th jurisdiction in the nation, and this before the state passed Tobacco 21 laws. So there is precedence for this, even nationally. There are 304 jurisdictions who have ended the sale of flavored tobacco. I might be saying the wrong number. It might be a little bit higher, but I can get that all that information to you. And there also are states who have ended the sale of flavored tobacco products. So we can look just at other places to see how they have done it, but we do have experience. Hawaii County did have experience enforcing Tobacco 21 laws prior to the state putting that into place.
Okay, so two quick questions. Again, so is there a way to actually just flavor the tobacco product on your own? Or does it have to come flavored in the product you buy? That's my question, only because I've seen people make their own flavors.
Well, I think it's about this is about the sale, which is, I wish
It's okay. That's probably a complicated
I mean,
question.
just the mass volume that's out there right now being sold would substantially drop, and therefore there's just going to be less.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And our other concern in our community, because we've had lots of different assemblies about this, we have speakers come out, talk to Waianae High School about kids not getting on addictive substances. So I'm a huge proponent of like teaching them how to make better choices for themselves, because laws shouldn't just dictate your best health choices. You should learn about what our best health choices. But the other concern I have is that plenty of our kids get it from their family members. Yeah. So
and they're getting the flavors which they like, and we have to remember these flavors. The kids might be getting addicted to it, and I agree, you have to make good choices for yourself. It is also really hard when there's a lot of predatory advertising at kids with specific flavors in very fun, beautiful colors. I mean, you think of what an Elf bar looks like. It's very eye-catching. Or, the highlighters, that's clearly marketed to kids.
Yeah, definitely all the industries that sell addictive substances just go straight for kids because they know it's an easy market, that they'll get hooked on it, and then they'll have lifetime customers. So it's unfortunate, but thank you for your advocacy. Yeah. Those are just some of my concerns. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, members? Just real quick, you talk about addiction a lot. Just want to be clear, because nobody's actually testified to this. The vapes that are being marketed that we're talking about, they contain nicotine, right?
Yes.
And nicotine is an addictive substance, right?
Correct.
And there are health problems associated with vaping and nicotine, right?
Many, yes.
And these health problems eventually could cost the healthcare industry, which you represent, and the people, taxpayers, lots of money down the road, as cigarettes did, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this is a trigger ban, but the strategy here is to push the legislature to stop preempting the cities and counties from regulating this, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions, members? Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Tina Yamaki, followed by Rima Kuri, Alex Warman, Jasmine and Jamie Rios and Rojas, and then anybody else who wants to testify, including the Department of Health, if you could please stay. Thank you.
Aloha and good morning. I'm Tina Yamaki. I'm with the Retail Merchants of Hawaii, and we respectfully oppose this measure. I want to point out that a lot of e-liquids available worldwide are flavored, because when they're originally made, there is no flavor in them. So basically, you're banning everything. And that means there's a lot of mom and pop stores that are in our neighborhoods that are locally owned will go out of business. We're finding out that, as we're talking about kids, I go and talk to a lot of the kids that work in our retail establishments who are in high school, and they all tell me there's a lot of schools out there where the teachers turn a blind eye and they see the kids vaping, or the security passes by and they see the kids vaping, but nothing happens to them. There are no consequences. And like the gentleman said, if they take away their driver's license or they have to pay like $100 and that might hurt the family, well, maybe these kids will take a second chance and think, maybe I shouldn't do this. It's going to hurt my family. What this bill is doing, it's penalizing a lot of our retailers who are law-abiding citizens. We're finding out that a lot of adults come in with minors and go, okay, what product do you want? The retailer will not sell it to them. They tell them, thank you very much, please leave my store. If they come back without the minor and they buy something, we don't know what happens to that product once they leave the store. But every time it's the retailer that gets fined and not the persons or people who are doing the illegal purchasing for the minors, or the minors themselves that are doing it illegally. We kind of wonder why there's not more stricter laws or consequences aimed at those who purchase products for minors. They mentioned that it's being sold out of the back of the cars. Banning it is not going to be the answer to getting rid of vape products. What you're going to see is more on the black market, more on the internet, the dark web. Kids know where to get these things from. You're going to see more military sales. where they banned it on the mainland. People just went to the next jurisdiction or another county or the state across lines in purchasing things. It didn't stop. And if that was the case, then there would be no more gambling in Hawaii, no more meth use as well. And why is the Department of Education not really cracking down on a lot of those campuses that allow kids to vape if there's so many people doing it, especially at the elementary school level? If they know they're doing it, why aren't they taking away their products if it's 1 in 5 kids or 1 in 3? And why are those adults who can legally purchase these items going to be not denied if the aim is at minors? So thank you very much.
Thank you, members. Any questions? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And mahalo, Ms. Yamaki, for all the work you're doing, particularly, coming out of COVID. And I know that there's a need to ensure that all of our small businesses have the support that they need, and that, those of us in government need to be responsive and understand what they're going through. I'm just curious, in your work, do you know how many vape-specific shops there are? I know there's a lot of retailers that maybe have it as a part of their inventory, but in terms of exclusively
I'm not aware how many are on Oahu or statewide, but I know driving through many, whether it's Waipahu or Waianae or Hawaii Kai or Haleiwa or even Waihea where I'm from, you see the small little vape shops all over the place. It's not like there's, onesie twosies. There's a lot of them around.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you bringing that up because I know Mr. Ching and others have mentioned the specific demographics that are targeted by the industry. And I got flack from Waihea residents for this bill not going far enough because they're like, it doesn't get rid of the vape shops when you drive into the town, right? So I think that, or impose additional regulations. You're saying it would, that they'd have to shut down, but I just want to say that's a good thought to have because it does seem like when we're looking at where they're located, it is, affecting the folks that Mr. Ching and others are most concerned about. And I guess just the final question is when we're looking at your clients and the industry, I'm just curious if there's been any conversation about healthcare costs, because I know oftentimes, particularly in Hawaii with the laws that we have, that's going to be a cost that's, on the employer. And so if we're understanding that what these products are doing are creating a whole nother generation of smokers, one, when you have nicotine, it's addictive, right? But then also with the youth being 4 times more likely to try cigarettes, 3 times more likely to become addicted to cigarettes. Have you had any conversation about the impact of those costs on your members, which I know are very broad, right? And so might not even be engaged in this particular sector or selling, tobacco products?
Our members are normally adults who we deal with. So usually they can't smoke in the store, so they got to go outside and take a smoke break. They're not constantly smoking or vaping in the stores. If you are underage and smoking and you're an employee, that is not good. You do get talked to, and there's consequences for that as well. So it's not like we're going, oh, you're 14, you want to go smoke, go outside, don't do it in the retailer. No, you can't do that on property.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I think a lot of it is just also cost-benefit analysis and basic marketing, right? Like, okay, there's going to be enforcement issues, but at the same time, it's like the law is trying to decrease the market. There's going to be major healthcare costs if we see addiction continue to grow, and then that's going to be borne by employers. So just, part of the different conversations I think we can be having.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is all of these vape shops go under, you're looking at higher unemployment costs that could make the schedule go up. And now we're seeing that right now on Maui, and we're trying not to have that happen. It already went up, I think it's 1 or 2 schedules. So people were paying more per employee. Plus, we got to also look at shipping costs have gone up. Products are harder to get and they're more expensive. Minimum wage is going up again too. So all of these are cost factors that many businesses are looking at. And even though COVID, we're not out of COVID yet, because a lot of these small mom and pop stores took second mortgages out on their home, took loans out just so that their employees could be employed or still continue to get health care during that time, and some money, even though they couldn't be open. So they're still paying for COVID as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Last question, Chair. And just to clarify your position, because I know the legislation is fairly broad. You're not saying that stores should at least be able to sell the 0% nicotine vapes. You're saying they should just be able to sell whatever is on the market now.
Yeah, I mean, because if you take away all the flavored vapes, that's almost all of the vape.
Yeah.
And so why have a store, right? It's like you have a clothing store, but you can't have anything that's sewn. It's like most of the clothes kind of thing.
Well, what I mean is, there are, various degrees in the liquids, right? And usually it's like 0, 3, 5, maybe 8%. You're saying they should be able to sell that whole range, because I mean, if it was no nicotine, but still a vape, that's still a marketable product. Not saying it's beneficial, and I think the language in the bill is fairly broad, but just kind of fleshing that out.
Like I said, we sell to adults, we don't sell to minors. And granted, there may be some stores out there that illegally sell to minors. They are not my members, just like not all politicians are up on the up and up either. There's always a couple of bad seeds in there, but they are not my members. My members and the people that I've talked to and gone out to in the community to learn more about these vape things, they were very adamant that they do not sell to minors. They card everybody. And granted, some of the ID cards, the illegal ones, are very good, but, they're trying to train themselves on this too, to make sure that they are not selling to minors and they're not adding to that problem. But what we're seeing is there's no real consequences to those minors or those people selling to the minors. And so without any consequences, why would they stop? They talked about taking away the driver's license, that might make them think, hey, if I vape, I'm not going to be able to drive. Maybe I shouldn't do that, and maybe the numbers will come down that way too. Because what this bill does, it also focuses on having adults not being able to vape, not being able to smoke, and not being able to do a lot of things if you take these things away.
Okay. Appreciate your insight. Thank you. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions for Ms. Yamaki? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I guess my question is, and I hear your point, I didn't ever hear that idea about taking away a license, but it does seem if our concern is the youth, then how is something better targeted towards the youth? I mean, we have, what do you call them? They're not foster care homes, but we have a lot of places in Waianae where youth live without their parents, right?
Yes.
They've been abandoned, maybe they're orphans, maybe they haven't been adopted. Every time they walk in, they have to dump out their bras because they hide it inside of it, right? And that doesn't make them stop though. So every time they come in and they gather it, don't bring that home, they still are able to get it. And these are kids that don't have any money, don't even have any parents, they're still able to get it. So I guess my question to you is, what would be your suggestion on how to do this so that it doesn't affect, or maybe there is no way, I don't know.
So what we're finding out, because I used to work with a lot of youth, at-risk youth that didn't have a home, that were living in youth homes and things like that. It depends who's running the home. A lot of times how they're getting things are through five-finger discounts. Put it in the pocket, run out the store. We see that a lot. That's why you see everything kind of behind the counters and kind of locked up as best we can. But there's always, they're finding better ways to get into that mousetrap. But, if there are no consequences, and what those consequence levels are, I'm not really sure, but we can talk more on that. But like I said, if children know that there's no consequences for vaping, what's going to make them stop?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if you're banning it in stores, so you're saying, okay, retailers, you can't do this, but that doesn't stop children from making bad decisions. That's my concern, because even, within our own household, I can positive reinforce. If my children keep making these decisions, we have to sit down and say, okay, let's talk through why this is probably a bad decision for us. So I'm just sharing that from, my perspective as my concern is our broken homes, right? Our community has kids that are isolated by themselves, and a lot of the times they make these choices about addictive substances is because they're trying to numb themselves because of all the pain they're going through in their home, in their family, in their situation with their parents, or that their parents aren't there. So none of that takes away any of that. You know what I mean? And that's where our community tries to work, is inside that home with the churches, with the Boys and Girls Club, with the, YMCA. So I hear what you're saying, and I think I would lean more towards something that really, I think would help youth to have some type of consequence, as opposed to punishing adults or retailers that are abiding by the law. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions for Ms. Yamaki? I just had one, following up on what Councilmember Wire was saying. I'm not sure you were able to answer the question. I think his point was that if employees vape on their own time and they get sick and they have to take time out of work, or it'll raise the premiums for medical insurance. Have you talked to your members about that possibility? And of course, it's not going to be immediate. It's going to be down the line, but it might end up costing employers more by supporting this.
I know there are some retailers, and I can't remember who it is, but they had at some point, like, if you want to quit, they'll help you get the nicotine patch and all of that. But it's the employees who have to want to do it. And we cannot monitor what goes on in their home or what they do outside of their job. That's, I think, illegal, but we can't do that. It's only when they're on the clock and what they do. Then, we can kind of monitor what they're doing.
I appreciate all the hard work and good work that the retail merchants of Hawaii do, especially advocating for our small businesses, which I really appreciate. But your membership is large and vast, and there's all kinds of different members. Have you polled your other members from the Retail Merchants Association, and they are all in support of or against this bill?
We've talked to those who are going to be directly impacted by this.
Okay.
Somebody who's not impacted, they don't have real skin in the game kind of thing. We talk to those who actually sell vape and tobacco products.
Okay. Thank you. Members, any follow-up questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Rima Corey, National Hookah Community Association.
Sorry.
Mr. Clerk, is this person available?
Yeah, I believe the person's not logged on.
Okay. Next, we have Alexa Warman, American Heart Association.
Aloha.
Aloha, thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Aloha, Chair Waters and members of the City Council. My name is Alexa Warman, and I am with the American Heart Association. We appreciate the Council's leadership in addressing the issue of tobacco use by working to end the sale of flavored tobacco products without exemption. All flavored tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, cigarettes, cigars, and yes, hookah, are a public health threat. They are alluring to new users, highly addictive, and deadly. So we urge that no product exemptions are added to the bill. Kids will gravitate toward any flavored tobacco products on the market, even if some are removed. And this policy is not just about kids, but the health of adults too. Flavors like menthol not only make it easier to start smoking, but also harder to quit. And we need to remember that the use of any type of tobacco product has significant health consequences. I also want to reiterate that American Heart Association does not support any penalties for youth using, purchasing, or possessing tobacco products. Tobacco use rates are so high because of the predatory marketing practices of the industry, primarily the marketing of flavors. And Peggy referenced this stat earlier. Over 360 communities across the country have stood up to the tobacco industry to prioritize the health of their families and marginalized communities by restricting the sale of flavored tobacco products. and we know Oahu deserves these same protections. Families, schools, hospitals, clinics, community-based organizations, and public health organizations like ours are doing everything we can to address this issue with education and resources, but we need the council and the state to step in and address this at the retail level. We're all standing behind you in support of this effort. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the American Heart Association? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Jasmine Rios, followed by Jamie Rojas, and then the Department of Health.
Aloha, my name is Jasmine Rios. I'm commenting as a supporter to our small businesses in Honolulu. I'm here to comment on Bill 46, prohibiting the sale of flavored tobacco products. This motion, if passed, will have a drastic effect on community businesses. A flavor ban is unnecessarily unhelpful to people like me who use it to reduce my use of cigarettes, and by passing a ban like this, you are not helping me get off of tobacco. I respect the need to protect the youth, but retailers do not sell tobacco products to anyone underage because it is already illegal to sell to anyone under the age of 21. Disposable vapes are what I keep hearing are the #1 use in youth. So the city should focus on the real problem and not pass a blanket ban. Bans like this shift sales from law-abiding retailers in a regulated environment and increase black market activity, which is more dangerous to our youth now more than ever. Peggy mentioned about the vapes from China. Why not focus on those items not approved by FDA? Who's going to stop the youth from buying these products online? How can that even be monitored? Local businesses are the backbone of every community and are the ones that will be financially affected by this ordinance. Please do not move forward with Bill 46 as is. I appreciate the council's consideration, and I hope that facts over emotions will prevail in stopping this flavor ban. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for Ms. Rios? Thank you, Ms. Rios. Next, we have Jamie Rojas, National Association of Tobacco Outlets. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha, Chairman and Council members. My name is Jaime Rojas with the National Association of Tobacco Outlets. We represent retailers and convenience stores throughout the country and here in Honolulu. Our association retailers respectfully do not support Bill 46 as it's currently written. Further restrictions are unnecessary because we've seen Honolulu retailers passing at a 97% success rate in retail tobacco compliance checks conducted in the past 3 years by the FDA in youth sting operations. Retailers are doing their jobs. Why implement new ordinances if we cannot enforce current regulations? We need to use tobacco tax dollars to fund local enforcement and local education. The City Council should focus to address other issues like, as many have mentioned, stopping tobacco online sales to youth, penalizing individual adults or increasing penalties to retailers who give or sell tobacco products to youth, improving educational school resources regarding youth vaping in the school curriculum, which currently is not the case. The real issue, has been said over and over again by many of the testimony, including the council members, is the issue of disposable flavor vaping products and not a blanket ban as is Bill 46. We do not see kids smoking cigarettes. We do not see kids smoking premium cigars. We do not see kids setting up hookahs that take 15, 20 minutes to set up and putting in their backpacks. We see kids using these illegal disposable flavored vape products. Our issue, and we urge the council, is to enforce current laws. Our Honolulu retail members are doing their part in keeping tobacco products out of the hands of persons under the age of 21. It is already illegal to sell to anyone under the age of 21. Compliance, code enforcement, education, all work. Youth usage of traditional combustible cigarettes, for example, in the past 20 years have gone from almost 20% to less than 3%. So these ways actually do work. We thank you for your consideration, and we hope you look at changing and adapting some of our recommendations to Bill 46. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Department of Health?
Good morning, Chair, members of the council. My name is Katie Noy. I'm with the Hawaii State Department of Health, and we definitely support and mirror the comments from the American Heart Association and the Hawaii Public Health Institute. I wanted to touch on a few things. We are very concerned about our youth and the impact, the harms of e-cigarette use and lifelong nicotine addiction that is happening right now. We also don't support penalizing youth. We've seen that is not something that really is effective when we're trying to reduce rates in many different areas of public health. As we saw from the previous tobacco policy and other public health issues, really we need to change our environment, and this is what this bill does, is change the environment around our youth and our community so that we aren't able to impact them and have them be addicted to these substances. I believe there are 360 other localities that have passed this, and so we have a lot of lessons learned from them, from enforcement to the impact that it's had on those communities. I can provide some research from those other communities that show the rates of e-cigarette use in the youth in those communities has gone down. So thank you. Really appreciate you guys and encourage you to move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Department of Health? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, is there anybody else who wishes to testify on this matter?
Yes, we have Ms. Iwasa and one person not registered standing by online.
Please proceed, Ms. Iwasa.
Thank you, Natalie Iwasa, for the record. I oppose this bill. First of all, what happens if you pass it? Practically nothing. And the reason is you do not have the authority to make this kind of bill. Well, maybe some people feel good, but that's it. So what happens if the state does change their mind? What if they do allow counties to regulate tobacco? The state loses tax revenues because tobacco is highly taxed. That is one impact. What happens if you tell somebody, no, you can't have that? It makes it more enticing, especially for kids. Anybody who has kids should know that. You tell them you can't do that, they go out and do it. So banning this, I don't think is going to solve anything. And if you're talking about, well, where do they get this? If you ban it, check out the internet, online stuff, the black market. We heard a lot of people mention that. It's already out there. So I don't think this is going to have the impact that you think it will. It's already illegal to sell to kids, which I think is your main concern, and that's not working, clearly. So I don't know what you're going to accomplish by passing this, other than a few people feeling like they've done something. So please vote no. Thank you.
Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next testifier, Mr. Clerk. Is that Rima Kuri from that?
Yes.
Aloha.
Thank you, City Council. I was on the phone line and you guys skipped my name earlier. So, well, thank you for having us. My name is Rima Kuri. I'm with the National Hookah Community Association, which is established to protect and preserve the rich cultural tradition of hookah, which has been around for nearly 1,000 years and mainly practiced by Middle Easterners, Persians, Turks, North Africans, Indians, and Armenians. This is something that is very different from vape, although what a lot of people don't realize is hookah is inherently a flavored tobacco product. Hundreds of years ago, it was called musal, which is translated from Arabic, meaning with honey. And oftentimes people would put in dried, shaved apples. So it always had a inherent characterizing flavor. Therefore, a broad flavored tobacco ban would ban hookah, but hookahs are not being confiscated in schools. Traditional hookahs are generally 3 feet tall, and hopefully you can see it like this. This is a hookah. I mean, they are very, very tall, and they take about 30 minutes to set up. You cannot conceal it. It takes too much time to set up and smoke in the bathroom at recess. According to the FDA and CDC, which I believe are very reliable sources, hookah use amongst teens are somewhere around 1%, and that number has been dropping over the past decade. The FDA has stated that hookah is not a problem with youth, most likely because of its cumbersome nature. It's very expensive. It's 10 parts and components together cost $200 up to sometimes thousands of dollars. It's very ornate and decorative, and a lot of times when you go to a Middle Easterner's home, you will see a hookah, which is often the centerpiece for social engagement and for people for religious reasons who do not drink. This is how they come together and meet and share their stories and connect with each other. So we obviously promote reasonable regulations that prevent youth access and usage to flavored tobacco products. However, this is not the problem. And so we ask that the City Council please consider a hookah exemption to help protect and preserve this rich cultural tradition that has been around for nearly 1,000 years. This is something near and dear, and for communities that really embrace diversity and equity and inclusion, we just, we don't want to pick winners and losers. It should be that way for all cultures. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have one more online testifier.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, City Council. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the Bill 46. Okay, so city laws are necessary to ensure students stop smoking vapes. The basis of this debate is that vapes, which has a statutory language of electronic smoking devices or electronic nicotine delivery systems, the basis of this debate is that these electronic devices are addicting to the students and it affects the students' health. So if the statutory language is electronic nicotine delivery systems and electronic smoking devices, it does not affect hookahs. And these are effective because of the nicotine and because of the trendy look of it. In the last discussion, I talked about this being a polarizing subject matter. Polarizing means this causes division in the debate because lawmakers have to choose to support tobacco businesses, which supports their families, or students and students' health. It's a non-polarizing issue is like period menstrual products, right? It helps everyone, it helps the students. There's not a negative thing about period menstrual products. So you can see why vapes is a polarizing discussion. So many jurisdictions across the nation have set a ban for online sales and or flavors. And when setting legislation and public policy, one wants to create a policy which is similar to another jurisdiction, which has similar statutory language and structure, because it works in that jurisdiction and has already gone through the county or state legislative process in that jurisdiction. Now, the vape issue is special to students here in Hawaii because the Keiki Caucus supports it. The Keiki Caucus is a group of legislators who support legislations for children at the state legislature. And the Keiki Caucus was created in 1994 by Suzanne Chun Oakland and Dennis Arakaki. The Keiki Caucus drafts and supports and implements policy changes to improve the lives of Hawaii's keikis. Their focus, the Keiki Caucus, this last year is one of the focuses is vapes. And it is supported by a summit from the Keiki Caucus, the Hawaii Children and Youth Summit, which brings together children across the state to help prioritize these issues and strategize solutions which require statutory changes to be implemented at the county, state, and federal level. And during the process of debating the Hawaii Children and Youth Summit, which is a branch of the Keiki Caucus, the students from 4 to 25 kindergarten
Thank you.
to young adults, they stated that the focus should be to create middle school and high school programs
Thank you.
with peer-to-peer support.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Wire.
Mahalo, Chair. Just wanted to note that, if I think we had a lot of great discussion today and really appreciate it, and that if, it does pass out and come back to committee, I would certainly entertain discussion on any committee drafts that are filed, because I think there's a lot of different issues to kind of talk through, right? And I do think we're looking at, from a public health perspective, just impact on our community, particularly our youth, but I think even more broadly than that, and also the impact on businesses as well, given how broad the language is in terms of applying to nicotine-containing and nicotine-free products. So, I'm open to discuss any different perspectives on how the bill could be modified, but I think just big picture, like you mentioned, what we're doing with this is just putting forward a trigger bill that if the state decided to return to status quo as was prior to 2018, understanding that public safety and health has typically been a police power in the county's purview, but was specifically taken out through the dialysis bill that we talked about, right? And undid, right, the 21 and over law that Big Island enacted. Thankfully, the state had already done across the board 21 and over bill, but just understanding this is typically something within the county's purview, but if the state decides to maintain it, then it provides, I think, an indication to them of where this body stands and would like to see the legislature go. But really, like I mentioned, I see this as just bringing our law or laws into compliance with each other, understanding that we've already gotten rid of flavorings in cigarettes, and we haven't just kept up with vapes. And I think that it makes sense to pass this. So mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Oh, thank you, Chair. And thank you for the previous comments. I appreciate it, the intent. And of course, none of us want to see our kids get addicted or the youth in our community suffer from any of this. Some of us attended an event that Prosecutor put on, and it's a very similar path, right? It starts off by promoting it as medicine. Interestingly, tobacco many decades ago was promoted as a botanical usage, and lots of doctors got behind it and got a lot of people addicted to it. Well, big tobacco gets sued, and then they just move on to the next addictive product. They're already investing in other companies because they know that this is going downhill. We don't want to see more and more addictive products, but this is just the reality of the world we live in. So I appreciate the testifiers, both for just commenting or against, because it's a really robust conversation to have. how do we actually put it into curriculums at the DOE level? I mean, that'd be great. Instead of just confiscation, is to see it actually inputted into the health and fitness classes at all of the DOE schools so that there's a more educational component of it instead of just a punitive, we're going to take things out of your backpack component of it. That'd be great. I think that's why, my reservations are that the state should lead on this, because if it truly is part of what the youth are combating, which we know is that and other substances, then we really need the DOE to be on board. We need them to come forward and say, hey, what other things can we do on the DOE level, seeing as though we have a huge influence on a large amount of youth. So I think if we are suggesting to the state, oh, hey, we think you should move this way, then let's do a resolution and then try to get the powers back into the county. But I'm not in favor of trying to legislate something that's out of our jurisdiction. And I do hope that our robust conversations will lead into something that can actually implement it on the city level and doesn't overstep it, but we shall see. So just reservations for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any further comments? Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you, Chair. I too will be voting with reservations and echo a lot of things that Councilmember Tupola said. I think it's going to be very difficult for us to regulate and enforce. I mean, you asked small business, Tina Yamaki, about how it's going to impact their business with employees using. I think it's our responsibility. I think these people know what they're getting themselves into when they start in this business. And by us pushing this through, it's going to affect their business. To me, they're entitled to do what they want to do with their business. And if that means their employees smoking and their medical bill is going up, that's the responsibility of the person. The intent is amazing. I think we got to do whatever we can to put responsibility on our parents and keeping our parents accountable. And again, maybe even talking to the DOE, because there's much more we can do in making sure we protect our children, and maybe we're not doing enough. So with lots of reservations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any further discussion? Seeing none, this requires a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Reservations.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba?
Reservations.
Councilmember Tupola?
Reservation.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. CR 252 has been adopted, and Bill 46 CD1 has passed second reading. Members, it is now 12:15. We could keep going for a few minutes, or we could take a break now. I'll defer to the membership. Does anybody have an opinion?
Mr. Chair, I guess I was recommending, because when you're looking at the agenda, the dialogue will primarily focus on Bill 20. It's going to take a lot. I don't see any other measure on the agenda that's going to take too much time. So I would recommend that we take a break now and reconvene at 1 o'clock.
Okay, Councilmember Tolba.
I just want to invite everyone. We have Acapulco for lunch. So if you guys like Mexican stew, I believe, and something authentic Mexican, yeah, we have that today.
Thank you. Why don't we do a 45-minute break then? Come back at 1 o'clock. Is that okay? 45 minutes? Perfect. Okay, we stand in recess till 1 o'clock.